Hey guys, welcome. Glad you could join for today's class. We're going to start today with some slow flow and then move into the longer held yin posture. So it will be nice to have something for support if you've got regular yoga props at home, or just grab a couple pillows and blankets for the yin portion of class, and that'll be nice to have. I am started seating on a blanket for today, just nice to give your hips a little bit of height. A throw pillow from the couch works really well for that too. So wherever you start, we're going to start seated here, whatever cross-legged seat feels comfortable. And then as you settle in, or gather all your props and then settle in, go ahead and close your eyes. Sometimes it's even nice just to soften your gaze if closing your eyes doesn't feel comfortable, whichever works better for you. And start to find a comfortable rhythm of your breath. Doesn't have to be a big, huge breath to start with. Just turn your attention there. Notice where your starting point is at. And as you start to take your breath a little bit deeper, a little fuller, don't push it, just allow. See if you can start to create what feels more like a cycle, a circle with your breath. And so instead of this very linear inhale, exhale, how does it feel like you can create maybe through your belly, through the movement of your breath, where it feels like there's a little bit more flow or cycle with the breath. Sometimes this just takes a little bit of visualization or imagination with where your breath is moving. We're going to focus today in our practice on this cyclical nature, this fluidity, both in our breath and in our bodies. As you well know, a cancer diagnosis can often really throw us off what feels like our path. We're moving from point A to point B. Things are progressing in a very linear way. And then that path gets a bit derailed. And what we might come to find is that things end up moving in this little bit more cyclical way. Right? We come to one thing, we come back to another, and we learn that it doesn't always have to be a point A to point B. That this fluidity, this cyclical nature can, in the long run, bring us back to where we want to be. And so I just invite you to explore that through your body today, what a little bit more fluidity feels like. And just letting go of things having to always go from a straight point from A to B, and let the path wander a little bit. And give yourself just a few more breaths like that. If it feels good, take a moment to set an intention for your practice. Maybe even know somewhere where you need to let go of that point A to point B and just let things flow a little easier. And then when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Good. We're going to stay seated and just start with some big hip circles. And so lean your upper body forward, and then you can go with whichever direction we're going to change. Tilt all the way over to your side, roll your hips back, come over to the other side, and then come forward. And really let yourself lead with your chest so that your hips, your pelvis stay grounded while your sitting bones. And you find that fluid action all around hips and pelvis. You can really lean into it with your shoulders. If it feels good to close your eyes or even just soften your gaze again and just feel, where is there a good fluid range of motion? It's early in practice. Where do things feel a little bit stickier? Just start to bring attention to it. And just let yourself match your breath and your movement together. Right? Whether that's one full inhale or exhale all the way around, or if it's half and half, matters less what it is, just that you're coordinating your breath and your movement. That fluid, cyclical action of both. And then wherever you're at, as you finish your next round, come on back to center, sit tall, reach both arms up overhead, and then exhale, fold forward. Right? And so forward fold, especially at the beginning of practice, you might just be a little bit forward on your hands, If you have a little bit more range of motion, walk forward. And just let yourself stay anchored back through your seat. Get long out through the top of your head. And just breath by breath, let yourself soften. Let go of it having to be a certain ending point. And just move into each little adjustment, range of motion with breath. And then walk yourself all the way back up. Good. Switch the leg that's in front just for balance. And we'll do those hip circles on this side too. So go ahead with your breath, lean forward to your side, roll back, and then over to the other side. You can even think of this sometimes like your pelvis as a bowl. And so we tilt forward, back. It can move independently side to side. There's a lot of range of motion in there. You might find a little different range of motion on this side than you had on the other. Especially if you tend to sit a certain way most of the time, it leaves some imprints and patterns within the hips and the pelvis. And just like we did on the first side, just coordinate your breath with your movement. I often find that moving a little slower can really help to lubricate the hip joints, but also just so that you can really bring attention to what's happening throughout that full range of motion. All right, come on back to center, both arms up, inhale. And then slow fold forward, exhale. Wherever that stopping point is, just bring your hands down for support. And then just let yourself move into that with breath. Lengthen out through your spine as you inhale. Soften and settle in, exhale. And just so each breath might give you sometimes what feels like just another millimeter through the range of motion. But so it's not static. It's not a starting and ending point. And even as we hold postures in that, what seemingly is stillness, that there's movement, there's adjustments. And come all the way back up. Great. Uncross your legs and come forward to tabletop. You can set blanket, whatever you've got off to the side for now. And then as you come to tabletop, just take a moment to set up a foundation. And so spread out wide through your hands, root down through your fingertips, and then just stack shoulders over wrists and hips over knees. And start to move through some rounds of cat-cow. So as you inhale, belly down, look forward. And exhale, round through your back, draw your chin towards your chest. Press your hands strongly into your mat. And move with your breath. Inhale, cow pose, arch your back, look forward. And then exhale, cat, round and draw chin to chest. And see, even here, if it's still that same cycle like you had with your breath at the beginning, inhale, come forward. And then exhale, round. So instead of it being two separate movements, it's one continuous loop, one cycle of the movement. If there's any other little ranges of motion that would feel good here to roll through your torso or take some bigger circles with your hips, let's see what would feel good in your body here. Again, just let go of it having to be a certain way. Move into however it feels today. And that way we can make our practice more of a response to what's happening in our bodies and our minds and our energy that day, instead of forcing our body into a certain structure or path of our practice. All right, come on back to center. Set up again that firm foundation of your tabletop. And then bring your weight onto your left knee. You're going to bring your right leg all the way back behind you. I'm just moving off a little to the side so you guys can see me in the screen. And then bend your knee and start to make some big circles with your hip and your knee. Again, a little slower so you can really feel what's happening along the way. And you can match, just like we did in those seated circles, movement to breath. All right, whatever length of the breath works for you, that's fine. Just find a way that it matches together. And then reverse direction. Come on back to center, stretch your leg out behind you, take a breath in. And then exhale, step your leg over to the right side of your mat. And so what you're working towards is left knee and right foot in line, and your right toes pointing forward. Right? And the toe might turn out a little bit, just find the place that works best for you. And then walk your hands back, come to stand up on your left knee. Good. Bring both arms up overhead. And then side bend to your right. I'm going to come over here so you guys can see a little bit better. All right, both arms up, side bend. So Parigasana, gate pose. And then really just anchor down through your right foot. Reach your left arm up and over. And just like that forward fold, once you find that stopping point, honor that, but see if you can make little adjustments with your breath. You might find more length with your spine on your inhale, and just a touch more reach with your exhale. Not pushing past, just exploring that range of motion for you. Inhale, bring both arms back up. Exhale, hands down, bring your leg back around to tabletop. And then just take a couple rounds of cat-cow in between. Move slow and steady with your breath. Come down back to center. Weight to your right knee, lift your left leg out to the side, and then do the same. Just big, slow circles of knee and hip. Match breath and movement. Just notice here, where is the range of motion fluid? Sometimes we get to places where there's a little bit of a glitch along the way. Reverse direction. And if you do things or your regular range of motion and activity that are pretty linear, like just walking, biking, hiking, front to back, you might notice a difference with this type of range of motion. And come back to center, stretch your left leg out, take a breath in, and then exhale, step your leg out to the side. And so foot and knee in general in alignment, working towards that. And then with your left toes forward. Inhale, bring both arms up overhead. And then exhale, side bend to your left. And try to stay light through your bottom hand so it's not just a lot of weight resting there. There's a little bit more strength and support through your core than just leaning down onto your arm. And find some length with your inhale. And then reach, stretch with your exhale. Next inhale, come all the way back up. Exhale, hands down, step back, tabletop. And this time from tabletop, walk your hands forward just an inch or two and reset that foundation. So spread out wide through fingers, press through fingertips, and then reach your hips up and back, down dog. From down dog, walk your hands back to your feet. Come to the back end of your mat. Take your feet out wide towards the outer edges of your mat. Turn your toes out a little bit, and then bend your knees, settle down for a squat. Get a little popping in the knees, like I just got, that happens. And if this isn't a great position for your knees, there's a few options here. One, you can do a great modified squat here with forearms to knees. Could also slide a blanket or a pillow behind your knees. Sometimes just that little bit of space can be really helpful for the knee joint. So find the place that works best for you. And then just shift your weight a little bit side to side. So we're just trying to eliminate some of that more static shape of the pose. It's not that it's always a bad place to be, just exploring different ways to practice. And then when we do that, how that affects our bodies, our minds, our energy levels. And come on back to center. Lift your hips. Fold your upper body forward. And then bring your feet back to hip width apart or big toes together. You can always bend your knees here for a little bit more support. And start to find a little more strength through your legs. So press down into your feet. Hug your inner legs towards center. With your inhale, lift and lengthen halfway. Hands to mat or shins or even thighs for support. And exhale, fold. And a couple times with your breath. Lengthen forward, lift halfway, inhale. Fold, exhale. Inhale, stretch and lengthen. So as you press into your feet, stretch out through the top of your head. Find some lift and tone through your belly for support. Exhale, fold. Press down into your feet. This time on your inhale, rise all the way up to standing. Exhale, bring your hands together at your heart. Take a breath. You can keep coming back to what feels like that more fluid, cyclical rhythm of breath. Reach up, inhale. Fold forward, exhale. This time, walk your hands forward again, down dog. And just like tabletop, make your hands really strong here in down dog. Fingers spread wide and root down through fingertips. With your inhale, lift up onto your toes. Exhale, take a deep bend into your knees. Press your hands down and forward. Inhale, straighten your legs. Exhale, bring your heels back down to or towards your mat. Inhale, lift to your toes. Exhale, bend your knees. So nice deep bend in your knees, shins working towards parallel. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, heels down. They might not touch, just moving them in that direction. One more, lift up, inhale. Bend your knees. Exhale, press your hands down and forward. Lift hips, inhale. Bend knees, exhale, or heels down, exhale. Words today. Next, inhale, slide forward, high plank pose, shoulders over wrists. And then exhale, up and back, down dog. Match movement and breath together. Inhale, slowly ripple forward. And your movement might be very different from my cues. Honor where you're at. Exhale, lift up and back. Take one more like that. Slide forward, inhale, like a slow ripple of your spine. And then exhale, up and back, down dog. Next, inhale, lift to your toes. This time, bend your knees, look forward, and walk your feet to your hands. Come to the front of your mat. And strong legs, press down into your feet. Hug your legs together. Inhale, lengthen forward, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Couple times with breath. Lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold again. Feel free to bend knees if that feels better. One more. Stretch forward, lift halfway. Inhale. Fold, exhale. Inhale, this time, big circle of your arms all the way around. Reach up. Exhale, bring your hands together at your heart. Take a breath. Let's feel that full cycle of your breath. And just take a moment to notice how this rhythm of the practice has affected so far. What does it feel like for energy, for mind, for body? And then start with your feet together here. Find a focus point for your eyes. You're going to shift your weight to your left foot and bring your right knee up, right? Working towards 90-degree angle at hip and knee and ankle. And if you're by a wall, you can always go to a wall if you want a little bit more support. Bring your hand to a wall or a couch or a table, anything that's there to help with balance is a really nice tool to use. Let's take a moment to anchor down, root down through your left foot. Lift your chest up towards your hands. We're going to take a little movement with the hip here. Inhale, bring your right knee out wide to the side. And then exhale, close together. Right, and it might move a few inches. It might move all the way out. Inhale. Exhale, back together. Wherever that range of motion is for you. Inhale. Exhale. Good. One more to open. Squeeze from outer knee towards outer hip. Get that strength on the outer line of the leg. Exhale, back together. And then take a full breath in. With your exhale, bend your left knee. And then sit back, standing figure four, Galavasana. Stay strong through your right leg, so flex your right foot. Right. You can stay with hand to wall or furniture for support. You can do hands to heart. Or you could fold forward, hands down to your mat or to a block or two if you have that. Right, different variations are just going to affect your body differently, so see what works best for you today. Wherever you're at, take 2 more full cycles of breath. And then if you're in the forward fold, unwind your foot. Right? If you're standing, unwind your foot, come all the way up. So we'll meet back standing from wherever you were. Take a breath. And then shift to the second side, right? So stand into your right foot. Find that focus point for your eye, something to fix your gaze on. Bring your left knee up. Flex your foot. Stand strong and tall. Inhale, open your knee out to the side. And exhale, close back together. Your breath, your rhythm. Inhale. Exhale. And inhale. So again, it's just one long fluid range of motion instead of a definite beginning and end point. And then come back to center. Exhale, take a breath in. Exhale, bend your left knee. Nope, your right knee. And sit back, figure 4. And then same options. If you have some support here of wall or couch or table and you want to hang there, stay. You can stay here a little bit more upright. This tends to be a little more strengthening on the outer hip. Or fold forward. I find this one tends to be maybe a little bit more hip opening, but what it affects in my body might be very different from how it affects yours. I think that's kind of the nature of our poses. Are each going to get us a little different. Whichever one you chose, take a couple more breaths. If you're folded forward, unwind your foot. If you're standing, release your foot. Come all the way up. Both hands together at your heart. Take a breath. And then take a big step wide with your right foot so that you come to face the long end of your mat. Turn your toes out, heels in, and bend your knees down for a squat. And just work towards lining up knees over ankles, so nice wide enough stance for that. And that your knees line up down the center of your feet. So that might just depend how much you turn feet in or out. Bring your hands to your heart. Squeeze your heels in towards center so the inner legs feel strong. And then settle your hips down. And just start here shifting the weight a little bit side to side. See how that fluid range of motion feels through legs, through feet. And then come back to center, hands to heart. Inhale, straighten your legs, reach both arms up, big circle, cycle around with your arms. Exhale, bend your knees, bring your hands together at your heart. Let's take a couple like that. Reach up, inhale. Hands to heart, bend knees, settle down into your squat, exhale. Inhale, reach up, straighten your legs. Exhale, hands to heart. One more, sweep up, inhale. Hands to heart, bend knees, exhale. Take a full round of breath. And then one more time, reach up. This time fold forward and turn your toes so they're pointing straight towards the long end of your mat. So the outer edges of your feet are parallel with the front and back of your mat. And then fold forward. And same thing, you can bend knees a little bit here if that feels more supportive along the back line of your body. We'll take just a little movement here with breath. Inhale, lengthen forward, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Stay strong through your legs. Press down into your feet as you lengthen up through your spine. Inhale. Fold, exhale. One more like that. Lengthen forward, lift halfway. Inhale. Fold, exhale. And plant through your hands. Walk your hands to the front of your mat. Step all the way back, downward facing dog. Your next inhale, slide forward to high plank. Your exhale, bent knees or straight legs, come all the way down to your belly. And then stretch your arms back by your sides. Turn your palms down and anchor down through the tops of your feet. Lift and tone through your low belly for support. Your inhale, float up through head, chest, shoulders. Stretch your fingertips back. And exhale, lower down. Couple like that. Lift and float up, inhale. Lower down, exhale. And one more, float up, inhale. This time pause, stay. You can stay anchored down through the tops of your feet, or you can float your legs up a little bit as well. And just be mindful about the amount of back bend, how that feels for your low back. And then as you inhale, maybe float up just a little bit more or squeeze shoulders back. And stay for your exhale. And so even in the hold, find the fluid movement with little adjustments. And lower all the way down, exhale. Hands by your ribs, press up and back, down dog. And take a full breath in, and big breath out. Inhale, reach your right leg up. And then exhale, right knee behind your right wrist, pigeon pose. So this is one that can feel great on knees and hips or not. So a great variation here is figure 4 on your back. It's that same shape with a little bit less pressure on knees. And we're going to start to move into some longer holds here. So some great options for support. If you have a block, you want some support under your right hip, you could do that. You could slide a blanket or a pillow there. You can also do a blanket or a pillow up underneath your whole pelvis. Sometimes this one's nice for a little bit more support. And then when you're ready, walk your upper body all the way forward. You can rest your head on a block, on your hands. You need to set up something that feels supportive and comfortable. As you settle in, begin by bringing your attention back to your breath. And see if you can tap in again to that feeling that feels a little more fluid, like your breath's more of a cycle than a straight line. And again, this just might take a little bit of visualization. Sometimes I imagine it like a big circle through the belly. And find what works best for you. And just let your body start to soften a little bit more. And with each breath, with each exhale, and as we settle into these longer holds of yin, we're really exploring where that range of motion and sensation is. And so that you come to a place that feels effective in your body. You can feel that things are happening. Well, that there's no pain. You're not resisting against that sensation, that it's something you can still soften around. And sometimes that sensation changes as we stay in the pose. And as the tissue starts to soften and open up, sensation might change. You can always give yourself more support, go in a little bit further if that's where you need to be, or even come out of the pose altogether if your body is asking you to do that. Let's just take a few more breaths here. And just move slowly in the transitions. Begin to walk yourself back up. If you're on some support, blanket, block, pillows, just slide that off to the side and then shift your weight over to your right hip. Swing your left leg around and step it outside of your right leg. And if you get there and you're like, that doesn't quite work in my body, try straightening your right leg. That might ease the sensation, especially through the hips a little bit. Again, finding the right place for you. And then take your left hand behind you, reach your right arm up, and then twist to your left. So a nice supportive variation here is to wrap your arm around your leg. If it feels like back of your arm to your outer thigh works there for you, you can do that. Just find the right place that feels like there's some support in your pose without a huge amount of effort. Some of our poses in yin are really just like full support laying on the ground, kind of like pigeon can be. When we're a little bit more upright, we want to find that balance between the effort and the ease. Where the spine can keep some length, so we can move into the twist without a huge amount of effort in the pose. And so in these first few moments, you can find a little bit of that movement with breath. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to twist, just to help you find the right amount of twist, the right depth for you. And then once you find that place, settle into the stillness. Might even feel good to close your eyes. You can keep your head just like it is, or your gaze turning back towards your back shoulder. You could also let right ear drop towards right shoulder. Or if there's a particularly good place in the neck that feels good just to explore a little stretch, do that. I think also in practice sometimes we have this vision of what poses should look like, what our practice should look like. I think some of that is, again, that point A to point B. Like there's a finish, an end point to the pose of what it should be. There's an it. Where really the whole thing is a cycle and a process. We're constantly fine-tuning and adjusting throughout our practice, throughout the pose, throughout life. There's our cycle. And take a few more breaths here. If your head's off to the side, just help it back to center. Use an inhale to unwind your twist. And then we're going to just stack knees from here and slide your left knee on top of your right for shoelace pose. And that same idea, if this feels like, whew, a little past my edge of sensation, stretch your right leg out in front. Might look a little bit more like knee lifted. Play with that variation of the legs to find what works best for you. And then you can say, I'm going to stay right here upright. I'm getting good sensation. There's enough going on here. You can walk your hands forward. You can set up some support here. If you do have something like blocks at home, stacking a couple blocks can be a nice place to be. You can do blocks to one to your knee, one to your head. You can do this with a pillow as well. Right, and if you don't have much around, no worries, just come forward, rest to your hands. It's okay for your neck, you can let chin drop down towards your chest. Just check in with where that edge of sensation is for you here. And sometimes that really feels different pose to pose. So focus on what it is, where it is, but also are you at a place where you can soften around it? Right? Like your body's not gripping, tensing in response to the sensation. And then just come back to rhythm of breath. Slow and fluid. As we slow down the practice here, when it feels like the mind might drift away, just bring it back to those things, the feeling of your breath, what cycle of it, and the sensation of your body. So they become your anchor points. And even here in these longer held poses, I think they're always shifting. The tissue is changing, our breath is moving. The thing about it is there's nowhere to be, nowhere to get to. Noticing how your body feels in each shape. And then take just a few more breaths here. Move slowly. When you're ready, bring yourself back up. You can set your support off to the side. And then unwind your legs, lean back. Take your feet out a little bit wider, and then just let your knees windshield wiper a little bit side to side. And a little more range of motion through the hips again after the longer holds. And then come on back to center, cross your ankles, roll to down dog. Okay, we'll take all of those on the second side. And left leg up, inhale. Left knee behind left wrist, exhale. And so you can either here or figure four on your back. And the variation you choose might be really different side to side, and that's great. Listen to what your body needs on each side. Again, you can grab some support either just underneath your left hip or underneath your whole pelvis. And then as you're ready, walk your upper body forward. Right, forearms, make a pillow with your hands. Slide a real pillow under your head. Find what helps you to best settle in. And then come to this side, bring attention to breath. And just notice where sensation is for this side. You might have really different range of motion side to side, especially if we're working through scar tissue, after effects of surgery or treatment. Sometimes these longer held postures can really give us time to feel the sensation, to feel what's happening there. So even in these longer holds, we're focusing on the area of the hips, which is often where we tap into that fluid range of motion. an area that can, because it provides us stability, sometimes get really locked up when things feel overly stable or rigid. And so, in order to find a little bit more freedom with that, we can invite ourselves to find a little more space through that hip and pelvis area. And take a few more breaths here. Move slowly. Start to walk yourself back up. And again, if you've got some support there, slide that out. Shift your hips shift your weight over to your left hip and then bring your right leg around. Step your right foot outside of your left thigh. And then either your left leg is going to be bent with your heel tucked in or straight out in front, whichever feels like the better place to be. And just take a moment to find both sitting bones. Sometimes that feels like you're tilted way off to the right. Let that start to get a little heavier. And then right hand behind you, inhale, left arm up. And exhale, twist. And grab a hold of the leg or elbow to thigh. Where's a place that feels supportive, but not a lot of effort? Find some length with your spine as you inhale. And twist with your exhale. These first few breaths, just move into the twist with that. And then when you reach that endpoint range of motion, stay. If that neck stretch felt good on the first side, can do that again, left ear towards left shoulder, or any little angle or variation of that. And feel your breath move. And let each little breath just give you the little adjustments, space, support, whatever it is that you need in the pose. Letting go of it having to be, look, and do something certain. And just enjoy the cycle, the process of winding your body in and out of them. And a few more breaths here. Use your inhale, come on back to center. And then cross your right knee over your left. And same option, you can keep your left leg extended or tucked back, whatever feels like the right version for this side. And then same thing, take a moment to ground down through your right sitting bone, right hip. It might feel like everything's way off to the side. And then decide, does this feel like a good stopping point right here, staying upright? Or does a little bit of forward fold feel like the right place to be? It might be different on this side. You can stack some blocks, pillows to your mat or to your knee. And just check in with amount of sensation. Is it at a place you can allow for some softness around it? And if it helps, you can even visualize with breath The breath moving to those areas where there's sensation, so that that cycle of the breath is helping to create space in the areas of the tissues that feel a little more bound up. And as we create a little more softness in the tissue, you're creating a little bit more freedom, a little more fluidity through the pelvis. Your body can find that place where there's flow and rhythm, a place where we let it wander a little off the path. And trust that it'll get there eventually, even if the path isn't straightforward. And take a few more breaths here. And come out slowly, help yourself back up. Unwind your legs. And then do the same thing. Lean back on your hands. Take your feet out wide and then just let your knees windshield wiper a little bit side to side. Maybe you already feel a little more freedom, fluidity through the hips. And then come back to center. Help yourself all the way down onto your back. When you get there, bring your knees into your chest. Hug your knees, big squeeze in towards your belly. And then with your next inhale, curl your forehead up to your knees. With your exhale, let it go. Stretch your legs out. Shavasana, final resting pose. If you want any support here, maybe props under your knees, a blanket, any layers, grab that. You can bring your arms by your sides or hands to your belly, see what feels comfortable. As you start to settle in, let go of any effort with your breath. And just notice how it moves here at the end of practice. You find that cycle here, even within Shavasana, within letting go of the effort. As you take these last few moments of rest here, let's keep your attention focused on your breath as you rest. If you have longer and you want to stay and rest, just stay. When you're ready to come out with your inhale, take a full stretch, reach your arms up overhead, lengthen out through your legs. And then draw your knees towards your chest, roll to your side. And press yourself all the way back up to sitting. Bring your hands together at your heart. And as you lift your heart to your hands, bow your head to your heart. And to finding a little more fluidity, to letting go of the path and finding the cycles when we need to. Thanks so much for sharing practice. Namaste.